Today I'm going to talk about the HDHomerun Flex 4K TV tuner, or should I say quad tuner. And this is one that hooks to your Ethernet, and it's not Wi-Fi, although you can connect it to your Wi-Fi modem or whatever. And it's for your over-the-air TV and cable. And so it's for streaming to some TVs, your smart TVs, like the LG OS. It has a pretty nice streaming player on it. PC has one. iOS, which is the Apple, like an iPad, and the iPhones, they have them. I'm assuming like the Apple TV or whatever probably has it as well. Roku has an app, but it is horrible. I do not recommend it. So here are your three connections. Right here, your coax from your antenna or preamp. You could put a USB hard drive for a DVR service, which I think you got to pay so much a month or every year or something for the service, for the guide service or whatever. And you have your Ethernet port and power port here. And two of your four tuners are ATSC 3.0, and if you don't know what that is, they also call it Nextgen TV. So Nextgen has the ability to have up to, I think, 4K resolution. Although, as far as I know, no 4K transmitters are publicly available in North America yet, unless there's one they're probably testing them. But so ATSC 3.0 or Nextgen TV has some ability to get their signal out just a little bit further than what we're used to using, which is ATSC 1.0. It can have up to, like, I guess 1080i, maybe 1080p, I'm not sure. So basically HD or standard def video. There are ATSC 3 towers. Supposedly there's one coming to Jacksonville. They've been saying for like 2 years that hasn't made it yet. I think it's supposed to have like the PBS station, and early on they're putting like 2 or 3 networks on each tower, in each transmitting tower or antenna. So you might have ABC, CBS, and Fox or something all in one tower. And eventually, I guess once they get like 4K content, most likely they're going to have multiple towers put up to support the bandwidth that they're going to need for that resolution. On your PC or iPad or whatever, you can go to the web browser and go to HDHomerun.local, and that will log you in to at least the first HDHomerun you have on your system, if you have multiple HDHomeruns. And there really are not many reasons to have more than one, especially with the Televis SmartCom out now, where you can combine up to 3 antennas, and the Vantex, where you can combine up to 4. So unless you have cable TV on one and over-the-air TV on another, you're probably better to have one. But you could just click, let me see here. Click on, detect channels. Of course, you select antenna or cable TV or whatever, and it will search for your channels, just with anything you have that has a web browser. So basically, the HDHomerun has its own web server built into it. And you have to be careful, because if you have varying conditions where your channels come in and out, if you do a full scan without stopping it at about 89% or 90%, it'll most likely it'll wipe out your existing channels. So if you stop it beforehand, you get to keep whatever new channels you find plus the old channels you've already scanned in. And it can be finicky. Sometimes you click it several times at like 88%, and it just scans so fast that it just wipes out your old channels. Now if you have a rotator or a rotor with a single antenna, you better do this. You better get your channels scanned in, stop it at 89% or whatever, rotate your antenna to the next stations, transmitters. If you have multiple directions, like antennas, like multiple markets, like you might have some in Gainesville, Ocala, Jacksonville, Georgia, depending on where you're at, you may have to rotate your antenna and then scan. Of course you're not going to scan in like 92 whatever channels the last ones are going to scan by doing that. So if I don't know if that's like 36 or 40 or what exactly is scanning, once it goes up to 80, 89, 90%, but around 90 to 92% it seems to stop scanning on my channels. Also, it has this config tool. So what I can do, even if we're not scanned in, I can just point to an RF channel, like let's say 5, which is virtual channel 10. I can point to that there on a tuner. It tells me the signal strength, symbol quality, signal quality, and I can go move the antenna around until I get it to where I want it to be. Or like 28 out in Orlando, this is hardly ever comes in. I get a little bleep of signal, all day long, off and on. But if I were going to try to move this to Orlando without a compass, or even with the help of a compass, I would probably, especially for a rotator, I would just put it on the RF station and then move the antenna a little bit at a time in that general direction, and I would see, if we ever got a good enough signal. So this is very nice here, and you can get a third-party app which basically acts as this, but it can do it like outside. You can take it outside on your antenna tower or whatever, anywhere where you have a Wi-Fi connection that is on the same connection as your HDHomerun. My tower is a little bit away from the Wi-Fi, so it doesn't get the best signal on the ground, but if I start climbing the tower, I get in the air, the Wi-Fi signal is kind of everywhere there. I could watch TV, on the tower with an iPhone or whatever, and it works great for that purpose. To the PC or web, I should say, web app. You can click beside each channel that you've scanned, and you can favorite it. First click was yellow star. Second click is to make it not show up on your HDHomerun or channels app or whatever, or just leave it as is. So if you get channels that are double, like the same PBS station, or let's say you're going through 2 or 3 markets and you don't want 2 ABCs or whatever, you can just go to like channel 25. Whoops, I don't even have 25 listed here. So alright, let's just say like you don't speak Spanish, so Telemundo here on channel 30, I wouldn't favorite, I would put an X there so it doesn't show up. And that's a good option to customize your channel list. And there might be like just channels that you are just not going to watch, no matter if they're double or not. But 45 is like Me TV. It's like a lower wattage station that had other channels that are easier to get have that one, so it's just rebroadcasting. So I can just X that out. I don't need Me TV, the same exact Me TV that's on the same market in a much stronger tower that I'm going to get pretty much almost 100% of the time, versus this one that's a little bit weaker and it could, you know, it could just come in and out a little bit all day long. I don't really want the pixelation and the problems, and like I said, it's a double station, so just exit out. So why would you want this versus just running a splitter and, you know, multiple cables in different TV rooms? If you have a single room and a single TV, this probably is going to be worse and more expensive than just hooking a coax and preamp and all to your main TV. If you don't want to go through the trouble and, you know, expense, or, you know, drilling holes through the floor and wall and going underneath the home and this and that, and running those cables, and then this is a good option. And it's actually, anytime you add splitters, you know, to split the signal. If you're splitting it, each split cuts it in half. The signal's cut in half. So if you have a 4-way splitter, you're cutting that signal to, you know, 25% of its, you know, the signal that you get at where the antenna meets, you know, your tuner or TV. So, or what should I say, normally where it would meet, you know. So this has some splitting going on internally, but every cable run, every F connector, every connection, you know, length, quality of cable, you know, everything has a signal loss, and this sort of takes most of that away. Otherwise, you may have to get an antenna or distribution amplifier, and sometimes distribution amplifiers actually amplify the bad noise as well as the signal. So you might have a fine line of where you can tune the output, and a lot of them have a gain adjustment. Too much gain, you're going to wipe your signal out, and, you know, you just don't want that hassle, most likely. So this is the best way in the right circumstances. Like I said, Fire TV would be a perfect option because they have a great tuner. Or if you have an iPad or iPhone, probably Androids, there are HDHomerun apps. There's the Channels app, which is, I think it's pay on certain platforms. I think it's free on iOS, so probably Apple TV, iPad, iPhone, all those you can get the app for free. Like I said, the others you have to pay for, and, you know, it's just the interface is slightly different. There's, you know, it probably functions about the same as the HDHomerun app. So problems with the HDHomerun Flex 4K. For one, it auto scans, and it adds, you know, if it finds like skip weather conditions, tropo conditions, where you get distant stations and possibly RF conflicts, it'll scan those channels in and add it to your channel list. So if you don't rescan often, you know, when they find these extra channels that's 200 or 500 miles away, that's only going to come in a couple times a year, you're going to have to go here and go delete, 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 delete. You know what I'm saying? So that is one of the issues. Another issue is you cannot do a single channel scan, which that is, I don't know, they should put that in a future firmware, but I guess silicone dust is not known for like implementing features and stuff like that people request. So another big issue with a lot of people lately is the ATSC channels, the ATSC 3.0 Nextgen TV channels. Probably half of the stations or more are implementing digital rights management, and there will be a little thing on your channel scan registry where it's, let me just move this over here, so where you see these HDs, it'll say like, you know, it'll say like DRM, and for probably a year they've been saying that they're working on the issue. It's going to be fixed one day, it'll be fixed in 2 weeks, it'll be fixed next month, 2 months, it'll be fixed in the next firmware. We're probably 10 firmwares, you know, out, and they still have not fixed that. They're still promising it. I'm sure they're working hard on it, because this is probably going to affect their business if they cannot get the DRM working. And these are the stations, these private stations are implementing this, these digital rights management, you know, because they want to have some control, you know, piracy control and stuff like that, which is fine. But it kind of seems like it goes against the ATSC 3 rules and standards. So if they can't ever fix the DRM, they might have to take DRM off. Or the other option is, if Silicon Dust can't fix the DRM, they might go out of business. So if you're wanting this tuner for ATSC 3 Nextgen TV, it's probably a better idea to wait and see if they actually can crack the DRM. You know, when I say crack it, I don't mean illegally. They're working with the networks and whoever implements the DRM to make it a legal way to do it, if that makes any sense. As I said, with the Roku TVs, their tuner software is way different. It's very simple, and in my experience, it goes out and doesn't come back on. You know, you can only watch it for so long before something happens on the air, you know, gets some sort of error in the signal or whatever, stops working, and that's it. I mean, it's not a good option, and apparently it's because of Roku's own rules and how they can implement the software. It's not like Silicon Dust is not, you know, trying to make it good for Roku. So, you know, you have to consider that if you want to keep your Rokus and you don't want to get like a Fire Stick to put on there, it's probably not a good option. But that's about all I can say about it right now, and it's definitely a nice system with the right setup. And I guess eventually ATSC 1 signals will be going off the air, which is kind of bad, because, you know, there's, how long did it take for like analog to digital, you know, to go into effect, and to have people actually switch, you know, the majority of the population switch to digital. And now we're going from this digital ATSC 1 to ATSC 3. Is it going to make people just stop doing over-the-air TV? You know, it doesn't have to make everybody stop. It just has to make enough consumers to stop to actually justify, you know, changing laws and stuff, so that these channels, you know, networks can just go directly to cable TV, directly to satellite, and, you know, get so much more money by having their rights, their distribution rights, sold to these cable companies. And that seems to be what a lot of this is about. And I'm sure cell phone companies and wireless internet providers would love to have the extra UHF and, you know, spectrum. You know, there used to be, UHF used to be up to like channel 82, then it went down to like 60s, and now it's down to 36 or something like that. So they've taken you know, over half of the spectrum. And that's not all for cell phones. They you know, they used some of the 70s and 80s channels for other purposes.